All right, you guys, we've made it to the end of Chapter 4. Chapter 4 was all about rational functions, which I call the Cobweb functions, but we'll talk about that. The book starts off by talking about this reciprocal function, which really just means that the x variable is in the denominator. It's like 1 over, the reciprocal of x is 1 over x. Every reciprocal function, or rational function as we call them, has a vertical asymptote and a horizontal asymptote. On this little graph I drew over here, here would be our vertical asymptote on the y-axis, and then our horizontal on the x-axis. I call these guys the Cobweb Graphs because they look like cobwebs in the corners of windows. They always have this relationship. Well, usually have this relationship of opposite corners. I'm going to talk about it at the end of this, and when you take your ALEKS test, they're going to want you to talk about your domain and range. And I think we did it slightly differently in the book, but I want you guys to think about the domain of this function as negative infinity up to 0, then unionized with 0 to infinity. So it's like, I'll use a different highlighter. It's everything all the way up to this y-axis, but not including it. So then you jump over it, and then it's everything on this side as well. So that's the way I want you guys to annotate that, is with a union symbol. Negative infinity up to 0, hop over the 0, then all the way to positive infinity. Same thing with the range. It comes all the way up from the bottom and then jumps over the x-axis and then continues all the way to the top. So that's going to be negative infinity to 0, then unionized with 0 to infinity. Please know that this is a self-inversing function, which means if it's its own inverse, because if you fold it over this line right here, the y equals x line, you get the same function again. Know how to find an inverse. I think that came up in our homework. Next up, we talked about transforming rational functions. There was a couple different forms for this, but one of them was this p over cx plus d plus q. I would know what all of those letters do to the cobwebs, moving it left, right, up, down, stretching, flipping. Remember that if you have a horizontal translation, that's going to change your vertical asymptote. And if you have a vertical translation, that's going to change your horizontal asymptote. One of the last things we talked about was a special form of rationals where you have a linear over a linear, ax plus b over cx plus d. In that lesson, we talked about how if you set the denominator to equal to 0, you can find the equation of your vertical asymptote. And as long as it's linear over linear, the ratio of the leading coefficients is your horizontal asymptote. That's it for Chapter 4, but on your ALEKS test, they're going to ask you for domain and range, and they're going to do it with unions. So I wanted to do an example with this specific graph right here. So the domain is going to be everything on this side all the way up to 3, or negative 3, but then not including it, and then we jump over, and then it's everything on this side. So the way you would write that is that it's negative infinity all the way up to negative 3, but not including negative 3. And then we have to unionize that with negative 3 all the way to infinity. Same thing with the range. Well, not same thing, but similar concept, that it comes all the way up from the bottom, and then it stops there at 2, hops over it, and then continues all the way to the top. So the range would be negative infinity all the way up to 2, unionized with 2 to positive infinity. That's how they're going to want you to do it on the test. All right, guys, it's been fun. Catch you in chapter